Welcome back to Great Day Houston, everybody. Okay, so if you remember yesterday, I showed a picture of my backyard. Well, today, we are really in my front yard, and the green chair has made an appearance again. I'm in the middle of my own storm. I call it Hurricane Kooker. It's a flooded house, and it's a little bathtub mishap. So as you can see here, lots of damage. And this has taken a really long time. The thing is, these are two totally different kinds of floods. So we've got Hurricane Kooker, and then there's actual natural disaster. So how do you know if you're covered, you're not covered? Are you in a floodplain? Does it matter? Well, I'm here with my State Farm agent. Her name's Caley Baillio. Now, the great thing is she really is my neighbor. So like a good neighbor,
State Farm is there.
That's right. So when all this happened, you came right over and you really helped me. But this is totally different than a natural disaster flood.
Yes, so you really need to know the definition of what flood actually is in a catastrophe situation. So when we're talking about hurricanes sitting over us or storms coming in, flood is defined as rising water from the outside coming in, not your little hurricane cookers that you have coming in here and flooding in a bathtub and making it rain on your first floor. So it's two totally different types of water damage coverage, so it's really important to know the difference and talk to your insurance professional about if you have coverage or not.
So yeah, I think people just assume, well, it's water damage, it's my house, and they're covered, but that's not the case. So what we need to do is, the best thing for them to do is review your coverage.
Yeah, absolutely. Homeowners insurance does not cover flood. You have to have a separate policy for that. And if you're not sure if you have that coverage, you need to call your insurance professional today. I would urge you to do that now, since hurricane season's right around the corner, and make sure that you do have the coverage you think you have. So reviewing your coverages is step one, and being prepared.
So let's say we're not covered. How quickly can we get covered?
That's a great question. Flood insurance actually has a 30-day waiting period, so unless you're closing on our home. So you can't wait till there is a hurricane in the Gulf and think you can just get flood insurance. So you do need to call beforehand if that's something that's a concern to you, or you're not sure if you're covered. Call your insurance company and see what you need to do to get that started, because there is a 30-day waiting period from the time you start the application and payment until it actually is effective.
Okay, that's good to know, because I think a lot of people see a storm coming and they're like, all right, I'm calling, I'm covered, but that's not the case.
I can't tell you how many calls we get when there is a storm, like sitting in the Gulf or tropical storm, hurricane coming our way. I mean, we get a lot of calls on that, so that is not the time to be calling about your coverage. You need to be proactive and make sure you understand the coverages you do have right now before a storm even comes, because not only flood insurance is there a waiting period. If there is a storm sitting in the Gulf, hurricane or anything, most companies do what's called a ceased writing, so we can't write.
We can't even write.
We can't even write homeowners policies or change coverages at that time.
So, you know, people that are not in a floodplain versus floodplain, like we're not. However, you're just 2 doors down, and you do have flood insurance.
I do. If anyone was around the Houston area last year, I mean, people that were in the 100-year floodplain flooded last year. So I don't think any of us are really immune to being flooded at this point. All the concrete being built, the highways, the new strip centers, the water has nowhere else to go. So, I mean, we're kind of in a new world with the flood zoning right now. So I would say, I mean, I know I'm an insurance professional, I'm always about the what ifs, but I would make sure that you have that coverage if you're in the Houston and surrounding areas.
Okay, and so if we do get insured, how do we make sure we get reimbursed for everything? Because I know a lot of people, like, they either leave town or they stay, and they're worried about all their stuff. So what is a really quick tip that everybody needs to know?
Yeah, that's a great question. 2 things you need to know. You need to know your deductible. There's a separate storm deductible on homeowners policies. You need to be prepared for that, because when you're talking about reimbursed, people think maybe it's 100% covered. You are responsible for some portion of that damage and that claim. So make sure you understand your deductibles. And then the second part of that is a quick tip on how you cover all of your personal property, because that can be the most cumbersome. Yeah, take an inventory on your home. I don't mean like write out a list. You can type it up, but the best thing to do to me is take pictures or a quick video of your house.
Like, I took a video, when I called you, you said start videoing right now. You always want to document everything.
Document, document, document. I mean, it'll make your claim go so much smoother if you have documentation, especially ahead of time.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
She's my State Farm agent, like a good neighbor, Deborah.
Cristina, gotta do it. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. For more helpful hints and questions to ask your insurance company, visit greatdayhouston.com.